Long, long ago and far away, in a land that time forgot, before the days of the Rolling Stones or before El Chapo was caught, we lived in a time of innocence, and they were you and me, long, long ago and far away, in the land that made Bob he. Oh, there was truth and goodness in the land that we were born, where James Bond stirred his martinis and Peyton Place was porn. For Ike was in the White House and Lucy and Ricky ended their run, and everyone was looking for a way to have more fun in the land that made Bob he. Only girls wore earrings then, and never in their nose, where tattoos were for sailors, but they never tatted their toes. Skirts came to the knee, and Castro came to power in the land that made Bob he. Donna Reed was our TV mom, and Father's Knows Best was our dad. We were scared by Alfred Hitchcock and the Twilight Zone, and the Beeve was considered a mischievous lad. Elvis moved his hips and gave us a new kind of tone in the land that made Bob he. Two brothers and a sister became a family without protection, all four too young to voice an objection. They had a mom and dad that didn't do so well, so the state decided where the children would soon dwell. His sister Sandy left on her own, a young girl just barely a teen. His blind brother Johnny went to a place that no one had seen. So Gary, a boy of 9, and only 7 was Bob's age. Both were placed in the Hutton Settlement, an orphanage. It was there they raised some sheep, worked the fields for their food, awakened from their sleep each morning by a bell. It was 10 long years before Duncan sprung Bob from this hell. Long, long ago and far away in the land that made Bob he. They were the original bachelors without a rose to give. All they needed to do was to figure out how they would live. Together, they learned to repair a car, even though others thought it was, oh, so bizarre. Living in a bachelor pad without a mom or a dad, as a high school band and a drum set was all Bob had. He survived even though he was just still a lad in the land that made Bob he. And only in his wildest dreams did he expect to see things called laptops and cell phones and movies he could stream. He had his dreams and his schemes about his life, how it would be. While smoking a little weed and watching Mork and Mindy, Stacy and Bob laughed and became the best of friends. Pretending to play the piano, on toes he painted red, in the land that made Bob he. He worked hard, and soon he was able to buy his first house. Remodeling was his gig. Even though those walls were thin, he was a young man who was never without a grin. He searched for a career that would never ask him to wear a tie. And soon that calling revealed a beautiful sky. Lights, camera, and action, and studios he did build. Soon he became, oh, so very skilled in the land that made Bob he. There were toasters and tea sets and quilts of plaid, close-ups of food, and many models, some scantily clad. There were mines of gold and bullets shot through glass, high-tech and low-tech, and executives with class. He hired a woman who would become his wife. A little tyke named Nick came with that new life. They made promises to each other of eternal love, and soon that family would fit just like a glove in the land that made Bob he. They went boating and skated on rollerblades, while Nick worked hard to get better grades. He taught Nick to ride a bike and to tie his shoes. They built things of wood, nails, and screws. Together they thrived through all kinds of trials, and soon they would travel so very many miles in the land that made Bob he. When Johnny Depp had hands of scissors, we dreamed of being lottery winners. We made love to David Sanborn's music, and rap drove us all crazy. Working only 8 hours a day was considered rather lazy in the land that made Bob he. Then the Gulf War was waged in the Middle East, and the Catholics found out about their priests. While Bill Clinton was in the White House with Monica's blue dress, Bob and Gail decided on a completely new address. The Cold War ended as the USSR dissolved, and the World Wide Web seemed oh so involved. OJ would never again be thought of as a drink. Protesters would splash paint on coats made of mink. And the Days of Thunder had a DP named Ward, as Tom Cruise drove fast cars and Bob's career soared in the land that made Bob he. Soon, a challenge that would be exciting and somewhat of an urge guided them to Mexico, and two countries converged. They built a house in a town with cobblestones, and they put their money in a famous market, Dow Jones. Then 9/11 changed us all forever, because Osama bin Laden was oh so clever. Back to the States, they moved their goods. Santa Fe, New Mexico became their new hood in the land that made Bob he. Nick graduated college and worked in the movies. Bob and Gail did art that never soared their hearts. And after 9 years back to Mexico, they did go to see if this time they could just go with the flow in the land that made Bob he. We had our share of heroes. We never thought they'd go, at least not a man named Prince, or especially Marilyn Monroe. We miss Superman and Elvis and Tower of Power, and we wonder whatever happened to flower power, peace signs, miniskirts, Jimi Hendrix, and lava lamps. Now Bob dreams of someday being called Gramps in the land that made Bob he. So today he turns the age of 60, and he still doesn't belong to AARP. He now wonders why he can never see. His close-up glasses are meant to be. Our wrinkles come with memories, oh so sweet, but we still wonder how we will ever use our phones to tweet. And when Bob looks back on his life of 60 years, the meaning of his success is measured with many cheers. For he has saved 3 lives from death, and loved his family and friends with every breath. And so we tell ourselves and our son the way it used to be, long, long ago and far away in the land that made Bob he.